Okay, this is our Wednesday class. So I want to tell you, we spent some time together. This is between us. You're accomplished, you are healthy physically. There are a few things that we can fix. And let me tell you, we are made out of body and soul. And in spiritual matters, the mouth, which is the entry for food and thing that we eat, sometimes unhealthy, the mouth also has the power of speech. So to heal the mouth in a spiritual way, in a physical way, if you have problems with your mouth, you go to a dentist, you go to ENT, you do all the things you have to do. You have to make sure that mouth is clean without bacteria to the most extent we can. But there's also important things is of what the mouth say. Okay? So during these classes, we speak about 5 things that the mouth can do, or 6 things. Okay? So we have speech that we are encouraged to speak or commanded to speak. Words of wisdoms, words of truth.
Can I record this?
Yes.
I want to remember it.
Okay. So the mouth, which is the entrance for food, is also the exit of speech, which is the expression of our soul. So they are in ethical books, philosophical books, which is both there is in Jewish philosophy and non-Jewish philosophy. They divide speech into 5 categories. And then there is a 6th category, which is silence. So speech has commanded speech to say words of truth, words of wisdom, honesty. Speech that we are prohibited from speaking, lies, gossip, humiliation, embarrassment, okay, false testimony. So one we should do, one we should try to minimize. Then we have speech which is idle talk. Idle talk is talking about celebrities, about what this king did, how this person behaves. It doesn't really add something, or you just talk about history, or you describe a palace or a building, etc. That's idle talk. That we should decrease during the day. Then we have speech that is our day-to-day business. Okay, we have to live our business, eating, drinking, all these things that we have to do in order to live our life and make money and survive. Those things we can continue. Okay, those you can continue. And then the other speech that you should increase is give compliments to other, see the positive and talk positively, and um, encourage others. Okay, and give words of um, guidance to other people. And then there is silence. Silence doesn't just mean to be quiet, it means you really want to say something and you hold yourself back from it. Okay? That's a spiritual healing for the mouth. Okay? So, yes, we have to do all the things, but this is a spiritual healing of the mouth. Let me read you a letter that is written healthy in body, mind, and spirit. Okay, you can buy it online.
Okay.
But let me see, there is directly on speech here. And yeah, let's do this one, 161. So, sometimes we go to different doctors and each one has a different opinion. So what do you do? So, this is a book written by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Jewish leader of our generation, who received throughout his 40 plus years of leadership, received many letters in all matters of life. This is just about health. Okay? So somebody wrote a question, and then the Rebbe is asking a question. So he's going to summarize what is the question, and he'll teach something to the person. With regard to your questions concerning the role of Agada, of like aspect of how do you spell Agada? Esoteric things,
Right.
things which not easily understood in the Talmud, particularly when it speaks about medicines. It gives stories about medicines. Hello. So I'm here in a room with a patient. So we're just starting the class. Okay.
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 Line +1 917 882 1958.
So let me just turn my phone off.
Same.
Okay. So so we're starting to read about using the latest techniques, procedures, and medications. Okay. So as to the question about of medicine in the Talmud. Talmud is the Jewish authentic study of the Bible, of the Torah. And there are various methods of healing. So, so therefore, there are a lot of stories of how healing should happen. This was stories about 1600 years ago. Okay. So is that applied today? So as to the question of medicine in the Talmud and the various methods of healing are not at all as fantastic as they may appear. As a matter of fact, the therapeutic value of many medical suggestions in the Talmud have been confirmed in recent years, although medical science had long denied them. Okay, what does it mean? Generally speaking, however, since the nature of the human organism has undergone many changes since those days, the medical advice contained in the Talmud cannot be applied nowadays. But it is quite certain that in their days, the remedies were quite effective. So, what does it mean? It means that our body changes. Okay, so if you compare our body to compare to 1,000 years ago, it was same human beings. Okay, human beings, the way we look, multiply, have the same emotions, speech, wisdom. Maybe they were more wise if they were sitting and learning. So it said over generations, our body changes a little bit. Okay. And therefore, medicines which were helpful 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago are not going to be the same medicine as today. Okay? So, so the so the letter says like this. So in the letter, it says where it is stated that due to physical and climate changes, medical treatments and remedies of old are no longer generally valid. Okay. In the history of medical science, many examples are given regarding changes in men's susceptibility to disease and treatment, the development of virus attack, new diseases, etc. There is already quite an extensive body of literature on the subject, and therefore there is no need for me to further expand this topic. Basically, the Rebbe is saying that whatever was written back then was truth, but was true back then. It was true. You learn it, you can talk about it, and but you cannot always apply the same medicinal treatment that was back then to today because our body changes. Okay, so if the body would not change, the same medicine that was in biblical times would probably will be good as well today. So but the I mean, the majority of the opinions is that whatever we do today and is helpful and was shown to be helpful, we should be able to use. For example, antibiotic for infections. It's known that it's going to help, right? Nobody's going to doubt whether antibiotics are going to help um, infection. We know it's going to help, so we should take them. Okay? Maybe they use different antibiotic in the past, but at the present, this is what we use. Okay, so even though it's a new antibiotic that wasn't existed hundreds of years ago, and we don't have many experience with that, but as long as it's used now and it's healing and it's helping, then we should able to use it. Another later. Utilizing and publicizing the latest and best medications and forms of treatment. This is the title. I received your letter with the 2 attached articles, and as per your request, I reviewed your monograph. I must say that your explanation of how to avoid becoming resistant to medication is extremely sound. It caused me to speculate why this method has not been accepted and used until now. Although in the history of science, there have been many similar occurrences, which means where something that was scientifically and medically sound was nevertheless not picked up on. Okay? So sometimes we doubt, right? I see this, I see that, it makes sense. How come you guys don't think about it? Okay? So still, the past should instruct the future, and such occurrences as failing to act on good science and medicine should be on the decline. Okay, meaning we should. If we know something is right, we should use it. Understandably, my intent is not to arouse speculation and doubt, but just to observe that it is possible that investigations have already been made in the direction that you suggest, and that actions have already been taken along these lines. Although surely you researched this matter to the great possible extent before you printed the article. Parenthetically, although this is not my area of expertise. So now the Rebbe answered him, said, yeah, whatever you write to me, you're correct. Go ahead and try to do it. But now, since you write to me, let me teach you something new. Let me teach you my perspective on life. I couldn't help notice that in the tables you use in your monograph, you cite medications and methods that were vague, were in vague over 150 years ago.
In
The-
vogue, right?
Vogue. What does vogue mean?
In common practice, all
Okay,
all
okay.
rage.
Okay. This also arouses wonder, for during this long period of time, these medications and methods were surely used on numerous occasions with changes and improvements made in the manner and means of use, treatment, and administration. It is impossible for there not to have been novel approaches either to the right or to the left, i.e., that the medication or method of treatment came to be used more extensively or fell into disfavor. Your intent in publishing the tables is not to record the history of medicine, but to help obtain the maximum benefit regarding medications and their beneficial use. With regard to this matter of the best use of medication, one should use the latest results. Okay, we should only use the latest results. This is also in keeping with the general principle of our Torah, which is lehavdil, is a principle in logic that the law is in accordance with the opinions of those who lived later. Okay, since they were also aware of prior opinions and nevertheless disagreed. As is self-understood, this is only being written from the viewpoint of someone who is not writing in his area of expertise, just as a comment from someone who is on the outside. So the Rebbe is basically, if I understand correctly, saying that whatever was used, and it was for hundreds of years, and it's published, probably many people used it, and they tried it. And if it would be working, then it will be prevalent, it will be common, it will be proven, it will be all over the place. And if it's not proven, it fell through. So why to invest so much time and effort in trying to prove if already the years of experience proved it not to be in favor? Okay. Am I saying it correctly?
You're saying it correctly, but the question then arises, these letters were written in the 70s and the 80s. Since then, there have been tremendous improvements in medication, brand new ones, based upon what the Rebbe says, to use the latest, the greatest as the term goes. Would it apply to the new medications of the 20th century, of the two from 210 to 220? There's a whole trend of new medication today.
Right.
So, so although I understand what he's saying, if a medicine is good, even though it was an old-time medicine, it'll continue in use because of its prevalence and because it has results. Medicine that was 300 years old should be updated to whatever is being used today. Does it carry forward that the medicine of 40 years later from these letters is also, does the Rebbe expect that we use the latest medicine today? That's my question.
Yeah, so if penicillin used to be good antibiotics 100 years ago, then it's still being used today because it's working.
Yeah, okay.
But if something else is not working as good or has a lot of side effects, yeah, obviously people have different opinions because they say, oh, maybe this is just led by the pharmaceutical companies, or it's there are bias of why we're not using an old medications. Okay, let's read another letter. Interesting. The title of this letter is assure that latest developed medications and forms of treatment are being utilized. At an opportune time, I will mention your name in prayer in the holy resting place of my father-in-law, the Rebbe of blessed memory. Surely she is under a care of a specialist regarding his wife. Try to find out whether they are using the medication and means of treatment that have recently been developed and which doctors are using with great success in the United States. No doubt the doctors in your country are aware of them as well. Doesn't really say what country. It would be appropriate at this time to have her husband's tefillin checked, as well as check the mitzvahs in her home. Also, she should give charity prior to lighting candles. So the Rebbe is encouraging, yes, use the latest treatments because the people who are inventing them has good intention. They want to improve society. They want to improve people. Nobody is inventing something to hurt other people, right? I mean, well, we obviously hope so. I mean, obviously, guns and bullets and bombs are being invented not for the right reason. I mean, I'm going to say parenthetically that, and we can maybe see a video, but the Rebbe speaks about the Nobel Prize. Okay, Nobel Prize, Dr. Nobel, or Nobel Prize is named after. He was a very, very wealthy man. What did he invent? He invented the bombs.
TNT.
Yeah, and he invented something which killed many people. He is not a good man. He's not a good man. And we should not be, uh, idolizing him. Oh, I want to get a Nobel Prize. Well, he's Nobel. Okay, so because he made so much money, he gave the money to the nation for research and advancement. But if you look at him by himself, he wasn't a good man. So why are we still calling it Nobel Prize? Why aren't we changing the name? If you know something is wrong, and he did something wrong, and still today people are being killed because of that, I mean, obviously you have war of defense and war of attack, but now we need to use bombs because we are being under attack, right? I mean, we read about war all the time. So this is the questions for ourselves. I mean, why are we allowing, why are we the same thing that when medicine is helping and it's new, we should use it. Same thing is we know something is wrong, we should fix it. Okay. Let me see. I don't know if this is what it is, but okay, I can see something. It's about terrorist attack. I think he's going to talk about it. So let me see if I can pull it up. So since we are so much war nowadays, we can talk about terrorist attack. I mean, even though, the Rebbe was very emotional about it. Okay? I mean, did you have experience of seeing Jewish videos or Jewish philosophy? Likely not, right?
I try not to plug the negative stuff into my visual anymore.
Okay, so let's try to see something positive. This is only positive. This is a person who only speaks the words of, I'm going to come to you. No,
Okay.
see. Okay, let me see if we can
Das
play.
Lied Rachman Litzlan mit gedacht, dann kommen zu Goy, als sie sollen Maskim sein, in UN, aber da viel noch gern der Erzisro, das ist mit gute Jung. Und die Teiner dort, die werden einmal Knaan, sagt mir gleich, als ich weiß, als ist Knaan. Aber Knaan ist der Gleich, den wir machen, Schile, ich kann nicht Tagre, wie der alte Rebbe bringt darauf bei Telei, gedei zu machen, das Schäle, die Ruf Gufe, weil sein Jarchiva war jetzt Gulcho, durch den Kibuschor. Von was weiß man, dass Keich Meister, bis als Higit Lejanki, wo Noslem Nachlass gehen, wie er schreibt am Pirushalatel. Wollte es viel nicht gewähren bei der Schiebe, wollte nicht gewusst, dass Keich Meister. Wie bald aber war mir sehr, dass viel was gewähren bei Schiebe Und die schreien, da wie Rasche bringt ob die Teine, bemehle darf non kommen, qua Jochel, als sie sollen Masken sein, und schicken Schluche mal Herz und Maftir sein, und noch geben Rachmanu Litzlan, stochen, und einstellen ist Akone, Rachmanu Litzlan, hat nicht für kein Nieden gedacht, nicht für kein Menschen gedacht, wie Kuach, Nefesh, Mama. Wie mir selbst meistens bechol je. Und man hat sich eingeschmust. Aber ich habe mit Kum zu gehen als zweiter Lied und sagen, hey doch, wieder lassen das Asami sagt, weil ein Mensch in Nikre. Starke gewähren als Reife in der Ehe, in der Bara. Uns ist wacker Rachman Litzlan umgekommen, 8 Chayolim. Bekamen nichts. Aber das ist nicht ein Jini, aber das hat in sich etwas Ahiro. Es ist eine zufällige Sache. Was hat etwas, diese zufällige Sachen getroffen, eine noch die zweite, noch die dritte, darf kein die Schwuiz, Wachadoshim, Achiach, Reinin, bis als man Nachricht gewähnt. Am geht gegen Amiel Levin, noch gegen Juden, noch gegen Schemle, und als Bore, was ist, Tmures, dem Abgeben wird bekommen ein Papier. Das kommen sich aber nicht sagen, als sie offen, sind gefahren auf einem Zoo. Wo darf man sagen, Stammerpapier, mit bekommen ein Papier, auf welches sein geschrieben, der Wort Scholem, wenn wir remonten, muss es schon. Was Menschen, was bekommen ein Papier, machen nicht David und King David. Wo ist der Papier auf Tuf getan? Gebracht, plötzlich, zrurig. Sei Begashmis, sei Beruchnis, nicht Tischler gedacht. Begashmis bepasst. Durch den Ruf ruiniert den Matze bei Kalkoli von der ganzen Medine. wo man gedacht, geben die Neft, die Nele darfen kämpfen Neft von die Qualen, was sie seine gewähren beschussen, schon ist so. Hatten sie auch gegeben, die Mitzri, und die Schaß mit darf haben Naft, also können bearbeiten nach Feld, darf kommen zu gehen zu Mitzri. Und gefunden haben in einer guten Stimme, wenn er Twellen verkämpfen die Nacht. Weil mit einem Wohlwerte bringt, Luft darauf, sein Chagrin, und will mich lange nicht reden. Und schicken dann noch in Amerika, bringen von dort nach Fessel Naft, aber Beschaß mod gehad im Naft in seine Schuss. Und keinem ist doch nicht geholfen, nicht in Washington, nicht in Yarden, nicht in Mitzrayim. Am Mitzrayim von Handels hat Dover, was hat keiner Worte nicht in Sechel Anushi. Nicht in Sechel Alekin, das Sechel von Ebschabamis. Und dann sich angeschmissen mit Hessen auf feiner Mann, mit Hessen auf feiner Politiker, und man hat auch angeräumt noch, aber man soll wissen sein, aber mit der Nachrichten bekommen eine Preisschule und eine Nobelpreisschule. Wie kommt der ganze Linie von Preis Nobel? Sie gewähren an Nietzsche,
No, and actually, he's
was hat Matzlier gewähren, in Machen, in Jonem shall Heres bechurben. Nicht hat Matzlier gewähren, in Machen, in Jonem shall Scholem. Bekommen seine Geld oder der Nobel, was das schlägt, gibt nach Reis, alle Prosim, der Fund, was fabriziert in Jonem shall Haschchosse, und was dann noch genutzt in alle Lemilkommis, gehagetlich man ins Land, hunderte, tausende Menschen mit die Sachen, was beschaffen. Und danach ist eingefallen, sie hat das Fuß, eselstische Tier, hat Reiche sicher gewährt. Als Teil von dem Geld hat gemacht, der Kern, haben so Teil die Prosim, und ein Teil von den Prosim geht weg auf Dvorim Tevi. Auf Achidisch und Chochmes Refu, Achidisch, in der Chochmes von Bengischol.
Common sense.
common sense. That what the Rebbe
The
had,
takeaway, common sense.
common sense.
Common sense.
But the Rebbe had common sense that we don't have.
But also common sense and then selfishness. If you can't solve both, you can't solve a problem. Because everybody has their self-interest, and if you can't solve each person's self-interest, or at least have a compromise and do it in a commonsensical fashion, then you don't have a solution.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the Valentine Constitution is very much a deal. It's a deal between the left and the right and the center, and you're going to get 4 out of 5 or 3 out of 4 or 2 out of 3 of your little pet things, because most people, they just want to, what are my little pet issues? They solve them. They're not going to read the 1,000 pages of legislation, just like their congressman and the senator. They're just going to read what affects me. And then you give them a commonsensical solution. It's like, okay, satisfied. Then you circle around to what you were saying earlier. That is why things, the guy said people in the government are following the things they believe in. That's why I have division and unrest now, because things are not the way people want. People don't want to follow what this government is putting out. They need something more commonsensical to follow. And that's why now we don't have the consensus that he was talking about. People follow a certain amount of consensus. If people wanted it, they'd do it. That's why the government laws are generally acceptable to people, and they live under those laws, he said, and that's why they live under it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not necessarily the case now, because our politicians are literally owned by the billionaires who pay for their campaigns. And then they go to work for them before and after. They go to work for them as department heads, and they go to work for them as politicians. And that is really the source of corruption. It's not corruption, really. It's just, well, you paid for my campaign, so now I'm going to pay you back by passing this legislation. And then you're going to give me a job after my term ends, and basically playing golf, but I'm going to have a job with your company. And then later on, I might go and represent the company in a department, and that department regulates that very company. And it's like, it's a conflict of interest. It's not commonsensical.
Mm-hmm.
The three primary provisions in the Valentine Constitution are fairness, common sense, and right over wrong. Those are the underlying grounding principles that you go to on anything that's not covered by the Valentine Constitution, even though it covers 90% of the problems.
Okay.
But
Okay.
common sense, I like that.
Okay. Okay. This is today's class.
See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.